Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I am your host. And today we have a very special guest, Andy Neary, who is a former professional baseball player and a two-time Ironman finisher, business coach, and founder of Complete Game Consulting, combining the skills and talents to use to compete in professional baseball and Ironman competitions. Andy's on a mission to help business and insurance professionals succeed in their careers and in life. He helps insurance professionals target the right audiences at the right time, and his programs help people cultivate the off-field habits, mindsets, and rituals that lead to all-star performances. Welcome to the podcast, Andy.
Arlen, I'm happy to be here, man. I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
And I'm excited to talk to you. We're going to be talking about a subject that I think is very important to really all businesses, not just e-commerce businesses, and that is telling your prospect's story, not telling your story, not telling what you can do for the company, but trying to tell your prospects' stories so that you can align with them, you can engage with them, and you have what you call a secret formula to building a brand marketing message that naturally attracts the target client, the right target client. And so I'm definitely interested to see what that secret formula is for sure. So we're going to dive deep into that. But before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Yeah, Arlen, when you said two-time Ironman, I cringed because I actually did 3 Ironmans and I didn't finish the last one because of injury. I had to bow out halfway through the race. But when I look back at my career, former professional baseball player, it's interesting. A lot of people hear that and they go, man, that must have been great. And I wasn't the prototypical size for a pitcher. I was 5'9", 170 pounds. So a lot of people look at the chance that I got to play pro baseball as, wow, you overcame a lot of odds. You overcame a lot of hurdles, which is true. But I also know I didn't reach my full potential because when I got to pro baseball, all my limiting beliefs I had as a kid came back. The fear of comparison, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure. It came back to haunt me. And when I looked at what kept me from reaching my full potential in baseball, it was all between the ears. And I share that because that's how the first 10 years of my insurance career went. So I got into the insurance business like most people. Not by design. I didn't intend to. Somebody suggested I should give it a shot. Right. But my first 10 years were very mediocre because all of those limiting beliefs. And that a pivotal moment came for me when we moved from Wisconsin to Colorado in 2014. I found myself in a new market selling insurance to people who have no clue who I am. Okay. So I said, all right, this is a chance to rewrite your story. This is a chance to rewrite your future. So I decided I'm going to build a brand. I'm going to become a new version of me. I'm going to build a brand that's very recognizable, that creates a ton of awareness in this industry because I got to get a lot of people to know me fast. Yep. And that's where this whole journey of where I am today, Arlen, started because I created a new marketing strategy, one that a lot of people in the insurance industry weren't using. What's a personal brand? Nobody in the industry knew what that was. Right. And I was able to grow a book of business, and fast forward 6-7 years later, I had some peers reach out and say, hey, I need you to help me do what you did. And lo and behold, a business came out of it, Complete Game Consulting. And in 2021, I decided to sell. I no longer was selling insurance. I went all in on building this coaching and training company I have today, which we teach insurance professionals how to book appointments with the right prospects. And the best way to do that is to tell their story. And so we really just help insurance companies improve their marketing, improve who they're talking to, what they're saying, and where they're saying it to get the right attention. And the principles we teach, which I'm sure we'll talk about, actually could apply to anybody selling any kind of product.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought at the top of the episode. That's kind of what I was saying. It's any business needs to really kind of sell that way and really speak to their customer. And you're trying to really kind of identify with their needs, not just spitting out all of your facts, your features, your benefits. You want to be in alignment with the problems and the needs of the end customer, and that's the bottom line. Well, that's a great story, Manny. Thank you for sharing that. It seems like you've definitely transitioned from quite a few different areas, starting from the professional baseball player to Ironman finisher to business coach, marketing expert. All that's really fascinating. And then, going to what you're doing today. So could you share how your previous experiences with sports has influenced your building of your brand, your personal brand?
Yeah. The number one thing I think I've taken from sports, despite all those limiting beliefs I had, Arlen, the reason I was given the opportunity to play professional baseball was because of all the work I put in off the field when no one was watching. And I think that's what separates athletes from the pack is what are you doing when no one else is watching?
Right.
And it was the same thing when I realized I need to put that same kind of work into building my brand. Heck, selling insurance, putting all the work in when no one is watching is when my career started to take off. Gotcha. And if there's one lesson that I have taken from playing baseball at that level and how I've applied it to my business career, it would be that consistency. There's a screen, there's a set of panels right behind my head here in my coaching from where I coach. And it's got 3 words: consistent, persistent, and patient. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it takes to grow any business today is you got to be consistent. You got to do this. You got to show up every week, week in and week out. You got to be persistent. You got to keep doing it after everybody else quits. Mm-hmm. But you got to be patient. You know this. Building a business is a long game. And you got to enjoy the journey. Yeah. And when I go back to my pro baseball career, if I'm willing to admit this, I wasn't enjoying the journey at that time. Mm-hmm. I was looking at baseball like a job. And hindsight's 2020. There's a lot of things I would do differently back then if I knew what I knew now. But that's really it is building a business. And where I've been able to be successful with it is because of these 3 things: consistency, persistency, and patience.
Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs and B2B marketers. Before we dive back into the conversation, let me introduce you to a game changer in the lead generation arena, Lead Feeder. Now, we all know the struggle of identifying those elusive website visitors and turning them into valuable leads. But what if I told you there's a tool that not only promises but delivers on supercharging your lead generation and sales efforts? Enter Lead Feeder. Imagine having the power to identify companies visiting your website, track their behavior in real time, and seamlessly integrate it all with your CRM. Lead Feeder is not just a tool, it's your secret weapon for efficient and targeted lead engagement. What sets Lead Feeder apart? It's the ability to provide detailed insights into customer behavior, helping your sales team prioritize efforts and close deals faster. With customizable notifications, lead scoring, and GDPR compliance, Lead Feeder is changing the game. Ready to revolutionize your approach to leads and deals? Head over to leadfeeder.com for your free demo today. That's leadfeeder.com. Don't miss out on the future of successful lead generation with Lead Feeder. Yeah, that's so true. And I can see how, of course, all 3 of those things, a professional sports player, that definitely applies in that case. And you can really take all those things into anything that you're doing, anything in life, not just business, sports. It just really applies to just about anything. Now, in the strategy that you spoke about, that is part of your kind of secret formula. You emphasize, of course, telling the prospect story over telling your brand's story. So if you could explain, really what are some of the key elements that make a prospect's story compelling, and in how do brands uncover these elements, when they're doing their research?
Yeah, great question. So I read a book in 2016 or 17. I can't remember exactly. That changed my career. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller.
Oh, yep.
And it's one of the best marketing books I've ever read about how to tell the prospect story, right? How to use storytelling to sell your products.
Mm-hmm.
And today I'm actually a Story Brand certified guide because I believe in what they teach, that I wanted to be able to use what they teach as well. But it was there where I saw the formula of how to tell a story. Every story ever written has a character who has a goal, but has a problem keeping them from the goal, which is why they need a guide who has a plan to help them succeed and avoid failure. And when I read that, I'm like, that's too simple. There's no way that's all you've got to do in storytelling to get somebody's attention. But lo and behold, I sat down and I built the framework based on my prospect at the time. And I was like, wow, people are responding. And I think that's the piece we often miss in marketing, Arlen, is the best thing to do sometimes is to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And what you just said earlier is where most people go wrong with that story framework is right away at the beginning. Who's the character? Who's the hero? A lot of businesses think they're the hero.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time from the agencies we work with. Well, who's the hero? Well, aren't we? No, they don't care what year you were founded. They don't care how many amazing products you have and all these partnerships you have. They just want to know what's in it for me. Mm-hmm. And telling their story is the best way of doing that.
Yeah, it sure is. And I've seen that time and time again, especially these days. I think we're kind of in a stage where we are as a society where people are looking to, there's so much information out there. So 9 times out of 10, when someone approaches your brand, they already know your whole deal. They know your story. They know where you started. These days with Google and AI now, I mean, it just takes a couple seconds to get a full breakdown of a history of a company. And so by the time, if they're really going to be a true customer and they're doing their own research, they already kind of know your deal. So the bottom line is that you're, being able to connect with them and, identifying to what you can do for them. Now, I know part of your secret formula is also crafting marketing messages that are naturally going to attract the target client. Without giving away, of course, all your secrets, could you outline the foundational principles of this formula and that part of it?
And I'm happy to share everything, and you don't need to call them secret, because I'll tell you, everything we do today, I've learned from mentors of mine.
Gotcha.
And we use an exercise called the 5-star prospect profile. A lot of sports terms in our exercises, but it's called the 5-star prospect profile, and it's how to identify your ideal client. And there's 5 questions you've got to answer clearly. First one is who is your favorite client today? I think every business should look at its clientele and go, who is that one we wish we could replicate over and over and over again? Mm-hmm. Might be a little harder if you're in the e-commerce where you have thousands of clients, but what is that type of client you wish you could replicate? And then the second question is, why are they your favorite? Why does this persona or this business fit the characteristics of the ideal client? And the only answer you can't give is because we make the most money on them. There's a reason they're your favorite. So we dig into 2 different things when it comes to why: demographics and psychographics. Mm-hmm. And demographics, again, to use a sports analogy, is like an athlete's height, weight, and speed. Mm-hmm. Psychographics is how is that athlete going to perform in the fourth quarter with the game online? How do they think up here? And when you can dissect your ideal client between the ears, like, who are these people? What do they believe? What do they stand for? Not just how old are they? How much money do they make? That's where you find the gold, because if you start incorporating the psychographics of the ideal client into your marketing, that's where you get inside the buyer's head. That's where you get them to go, man, I feel like they're talking directly at me. Mm-hmm. The third question is, what problem do you solve better than anybody else? So now that you know who your ideal target is demographically and psychographically, what is the problem you feel you're more credible to solve than anybody else? What's your process to fix it? So question 4 is, what is your process to solve the problem? Mm-hmm. And then question 5 is, what result does your process create? And when we walk our clients through that exercise, they get really clear on the type of prospect they're trying to attract, because you can't be all things to all people.
Yeah, very, very true. What you were saying is it's kind of resonating with just what I see with a lot of companies. And like you said, the one thing you can't say is, okay, the company that's bringing us the most money. I mean, naturally, of course, a company is going to want to say, yeah, they've been with us the longest time, they bring us the most money, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be your ideal client, because there's a lot of other factors there. What I was wondering though is, looking at, let's say, all of your client base, it kind of seems like you could find elements from multiple customers that kind of make up your ideal. It may be, you may not necessarily find all of those aspects in the same customer. I'm wondering, I mean, have you seen that where they're kind of spread out between multiple customers?
Absolutely. When we do this exercise with clients, what I actually have them do is, when we start listing out the demographics, I have them make 2 columns. One is the demographics of that specific client, but then over on the right, we have the demographics of the ideal client, because the ideal may not be exactly like the specific client they wrote down. But the psychographics will typically never change, because no matter what the demographics are, if your buyer has a certain belief, certain stance, certain way they go about their business, that's the person you're trying to look for, no matter what the demographics say.
Yeah, I see.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we see it in the insurance industry. A lot of producers and agencies focus on the demographics. They completely ignore the psychographics. And that's where the gold is. That's where you really lock in your ideal prospect.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm always about, getting lessons learned from, companies that are out there in the field implementing these things, because I think that's the best way to really learn and see if a marketing strategy really is going to stand the test of times. If it's been used, what were some failures, what were some successes with it? So I wanted to see if you could share a case study or example where a brand successfully implemented the strategy of telling their prospect story, and then what impact did it have on their market?
I'll give you a really good example, and I know it will come from the insurance world, but it'll make a lot of sense for your listeners. So I come from an industry where agencies offer a lot of different products. There's a lot of different solutions they can throw at a potential client. And where they make a mistake is they want to talk about it all. Right. I call it the old capabilities slide, the slide that says, this is everything we do and everything we can help you with.
Right.
The agencies I see have exponential growth are the ones that say, you're right, we can do everything, but we're the best at this. And then they focus their entire marketing strategy around that one thing they do better than anybody else. So when we help an agency build a brand, and this applies to any business, I ask them 2 questions. What makes you unique? And what do you do better than anybody else? Because your brand's at the intersection of those 2 answers. Then it's about building your marketing strategy around that one thing. So we have an agency that is, there's a product in our industry they call captives. You guys, listeners don't need to know what that means, but everything they do is built around captive insurance. Okay. That's all they talk about. Well, guess what's happened? They have become the go-to resource for captive insurance. When people think of that product, they think of that company. So instead of wanting to talk about all these different things in the industry they could help with, they get focused, and they have seen 20+% growth every year for the past 3 or 4 years, because they got very narrow on what they do best.
Yeah, it makes sense, because doing it that way is really a lot easier to not only manage the business because you're focused, but also to be able to narrow down on that ideal client, because okay, this is what we specialize in. We're experts at this, so we can kind of identify the right people that are going to be in alignment with that specific aspect.
I do want to add this, Arlen, if I can, because you probably have listeners in the e-commerce space that offer different products and they want to sell them all, right?
Yep.
My advice to them would be, what I just walked through that 5-star prospect profile, I would just do a 5-star prospect profile on every different product you have.
I see.
Because every different product might have a different buyer. And just get clear on who the ideal product buyer is for that specific product. and then repeat the exercise for your different products.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because especially if you're selling different products, it's definitely not going to be one size fits all with your marketing campaigns, your messaging. You're going to need to tailor it for the different products. There's going to be different customers that are going to be in alignment and have an interest in the different ones. So that makes total sense. Now, as you've been going through this journey, not only in your business, but with the lives of the businesses that you're working with, that you're coaching, what have you seen as some common pitfalls that brands usually fall into when they adopt prospect-centered, storytelling approach, and how can they avoid these pitfalls?
Couple things in marketing that we try to help our clients avoid is, one, we talked about, make sure you're making the prospect the hero, not you. That's where we start. Number two, every story you tell inside the world of your marketing has to focus on one goal and one problem at a time. So if you're putting out marketing that tries to talk about several goals and several problems in the same piece of content or marketing, you're going to confuse people. And Don Miller talks about it in the book, Building a Story Brand. If you confuse, you lose. If you're confusing your buyers, you're not going to win business. And so be very focused. So whatever you put out there, keep it to one problem, one goal. Don't get caught on wanting to talk about everything in every single piece of marketing. And then the third thing I would tell people, and this is probably more social media marketing driven, because our advisors and agencies we work with get so caught up in this. If you're going to use social media to grow your business, whether that be Instagram, Facebook, or we use LinkedIn a lot in our business, just focus on talking to your prospects. Don't get caught up in the algorithm. Don't get caught up in the likes and the comments. Don't get caught up on the dopamine. Your job is just to talk to your prospects. And unfortunately, that can come with less likes and comments. But if you're just there to do business and educate your prospects, social media will help you grow your business.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And it is difficult because with all these platforms, like you said, it's hard not to get caught up in the likes, the shares, the followers that you have. And it's tough, and there's the dopamine rush when you see, you're getting these likes on this post and these messages are resonating.
Arlen, I don't know. Do you remember when Instagram changed their algorithm a little bit, where all of a sudden people dancing and the voiceovers on Reels became really popular?
Yep, I remember. Yep.
I remember watching people literally do that stuff to grow their business. And I remember telling my girlfriend, I said, if I have to arrive at the day that I have to do some dance or some stupid voiceover to grow my business, I'm done.
Yeah.
But that was Instagram. That's how Instagram gets you to chase the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly.
Just talk to your prospects.
That's the bottom line. It's just a lot of businesses, you get caught up in that because they become trendy. Those types of things become trendy. You see other businesses doing that. You're seeing the likes. You're seeing the shares. You're like, okay, what am I missing? I need to do this.
A tagline we use for social media and the training we provide is, we help our clients chase dollars, not dopamine.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's really good, especially in this whole world of social media, for sure. Well, Andy, as we get ready to wrap things up, for businesses that are looking to, pivot their current marketing strategies to focus more on, their prospect stories, what would you say are the first practical steps that you'd recommend that they should take in order to make this shift?
Great question. I think a good, effective marketing strategy answers three questions clearly. Who are you talking to? What are you saying? And where are you saying it? So the first thing you got to start with is, who are you talking to? Our 5-star prospect profiles, our exercise we use to help you get clear on who you are talking to. Step 2 is the what are you saying? And that's where I reference the story brand framework. Use the framework to tell your prospect story. And then the where is focus on exponential awareness. Where can we put our message in front of a lot of people at one time? Is it social media? Is it podcasting? Is it YouTube? Is it webinars? Is it public speaking? But focus on getting your message in front of a lot of people at one time to get that message out far, fast, and wide. If you do those three things well, your marketing is going to work for you.
Yeah, I totally agree. Those are definitely some great pieces of advice for sure. And a great start for people that are, haven't done this, that need to make a shift. Because I do see a lot of businesses that are doing some traditional things, and it's they're doing all the same things. They're making all the same mistakes, touting all of their features, their benefits, their features, and not really trying to uncover, their success of their
100%.
customers. Yep. Well, Andy, this has been an awesome conversation. Really appreciate having
Thank
you
you.
on today. I know this is going to resonate well with our listeners and our viewers. But lastly, before we do let you go, I always like to close things out with a closing fun fact about yourself. If you don't mind sharing something that you think we'd be interested to know.
Oh man, interesting to know. I don't know how fun this would be for people, but I'm a binge watcher of Modern Family and The Office.
Okay.
So if there, you got any listeners right there that love watching The Office or the reruns of Modern Family, I'm your guy.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, you're kind of at the right time, because nowadays it's pretty, with all of these different streaming services, it's pretty easy to do that.
And I will tell you this, I also eat my eggs with ketchup. So I don't know if that grosses anybody else out, but I'll share this real quick, Arlen. I had a leg infection.
Okay.
Almost 3 years ago now. It hospitalized me for 6 days. Wow. I almost lost my leg, and we still don't know why I got it. But whatever happened coming out of it, whatever it was with the antibiotics, I don't know. I left the hospital with an addiction to ketchup. Okay. It was the strangest thing. So I put it on everything these days.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard that before. Well, thank you for sharing that. The addiction to ketchup and Modern Family and The Office. I've seen a few episodes of The Office and Modern Family. I never really got into it when they were out. But
either did I. It's all reruns. I never watched it when it was actually live.
Okay. Well, yeah. If I'm flipping around and I'm struggling to find something, maybe I'll pop on one of those seasons and see what I think. Well, great. Andy, thank you again for sharing that. Lastly, before we do let you go, if you don't mind sharing the best way for our listeners and viewers to reach you, if they want to pick your brain any more about this topic.
There's a couple ways. I am on LinkedIn and Instagram, so feel free to reach out to me. You can request a call right from my LinkedIn profile. So if anybody here's on LinkedIn, I have a button. You can just request a call to learn more. I also have a tutorial if anybody wants to get it, Arlen. It's at completegameplaybook.com. Okay. If anybody wants to download that, it's a free course that I teach, just going over our 4 pillars of our complete game marketing playbook. So if somebody wanted to go grab that, they could just go to completegameplaybook.com.
Okay, awesome. Yep. Well, we'll be sure to have that link to your site in our show notes so people can get to that, and definitely encourage people to check that out and download that, that guide for them. And that's great. Thank you for offering that. We appreciate that. And once again, it's been awesome talking to you, Andy. We really appreciate you coming on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.